Aloha. Just a quick video. Oh wait, how many times have I said that? Oh, it could be an hour, who knows. But I do intend to be brief. What happens is I get on this video and I'm like, I just want to just connect real quick just to tell everyone how much I appreciate you. Thanks for putting up with me, Thanks for all your love and support. The sale was awesome. The Instagram is awesome. I had the girls over there during the sale, answering questions because I was getting a lot of messages because we were doing like advertisements, which I've never done before, but that's what works. And so I was getting a whole bunch of new people, and I was just like, you girls handle all these direct messages. And then I put up this really heartfelt, several on my Instagram, and then it was like, hey, this is customer service from Dan McDonald. So everyone's like, oh, Dan, here's this, you're awesome, I love you, thanks for, and all the stories and stuff. And then the girls were answering it, and it just didn't look good. So I said, oh, stop, I'll answer the direct messages now, because I never answered direct messages. I didn't even know what they were, where to find them, up until about, maybe 6 months ago. And I think it was Johnny Juicer or something. He was like, I sent you a direct message. And I'm like, no, it was Christina. And I think Johnny was one of the first ones I saw. Hey, Johnny, sorry I missed this. It was like from 6 months ago, Christina texted me and she said, I sent you a DM about something. And I was like, what the heck is that? So I'm on Instagram for God knows how many years, ever since the Vallejo house. Oh, here we go, the stories again. I was just going to be quick. So anyways, this video is for the hardcores who I have just recently, it kind of finally sank in. I had a conversation with one of the hardcores, Christina, not fully raw Christina, but Italian Christina, and it just finally kind of sank in, just because I'm softening up everywhere. It's really cool. It's like my feminine and masculine are growing, So it's really cool, and that's what I recommend for you as a human being, One interesting thing that I think that's really cool about the Life Regenerator teachings is that there's no gender, selectivity. It's like everything that I teach works for men and women. Now, of course, obviously we have different biological and physiological, hormonal, but the basic truth is the same, because what I do share here as an essence is the oneness. And our continual, dissolution into that. So we're softening up the edges while simultaneously hardening up our discipline. It's, again, we're right back to the dualities where, and social media is the ultimate optimum place for dualities. Versus truth, this versus that versus this. And I am just as guilty as anyone for getting caught up in that. But as I evolve here with the love of Mama Kauai and the awesome literature that I expose myself to religiously, I really try to be careful about what I watch. I just stopped watching all the drama on YouTube, and I go right to the scientists, the experts, and really at the end of the day, most of my time is invested in the spiritual literature, just reminding myself of the infinite divinity, or what I like to call, or reference for myself, the lightless light, because there's the light and the dark, which are opposites, but then there is the lightless light, and that is what I love, and that is what I worship, and that is what I'm devoted to. So that is the primordial essence of all that is, and then that washes away all religious differences. No religion has the right answers, as much as people want to believe that in their own perceptual concepts, mathematical linear equations on who gets to go to heaven and who doesn't. But none of that works for me, and I was afraid. I've been afraid to offend people, and that being said, I'm interested in being sensitive to everyone's, what's the word for it? Limitations. At the same time, it's like, Dan McDonald, you need to speak your truth as it is right now, because where I was before is not where I'm at now, is not where I'm going to be then. And so basically what I'm saying is that for many years now, in the beginning, I was just like an ego, and I was just kind of like pushing ahead, and it was like, I didn't think about it too much. And then recently I've been thinking about it more and more. And then I've had a lot of feedback, and I've really been contemplating this, really trying to grow, really trying to pray, like, what's right, what's the best, because I want you to know this. This is what I want you to know. I know how blessed I am to have this channel. And I overthink it too much, and I think, oh, I only get 5 or 10,000 views. But then it's like, wait a minute, dude. Okay, you get 5 or 10,000 views talking about what you talk about. That's a miracle. And that's a lot of power, and whatever, not the kind of power that I would ever abuse, but the kind of power it's like, look, these are my ideas and they work for me, and it's a beautiful thing, and I have some great things to say that are just taught to me by the exposure to like divine teachings, and then the experience of it. Like I have the experience of like in October I'm coming up on 20 years of live foods. 99% live foods for 20 years. That's pretty cool. And so that's just one area of experience, and then all the other stuff that went with that, and then like all the things that I've been through with the drugs and stuff. I mean, you can get sober and you can actually enjoy being 100% sober and clean off of everything. Far more so, in other words, you kind of get addicted to the clarity. You get addicted to being filled with light. You get addicted to being clear, addicted in a good way. And then when you lose that clarity through whatever, choice, when you digress back into an old habit or make a choice that isn't the best, and you're like, oh my God, 5 years ago you could have done that for weeks on end and been fine. Nowadays you do it even once and you're like, you got hit by a truck. So the clarity is cool. And my prayer for a long time, I'm sure I've said this before, but and it warrants being said again, purity and clarity is mine, And yesterday at church, I was getting smudged by the guy who monitors the door and takes the donations, and then smudges everyone. Like, I don't know how much you know about, like, Palo Santo or sage, but it's more well known than certain other spiritual traditions. But a lot of sage gets burned to just, it kind of clears the air. I burn sage maybe once a week in here. I'll go around all the edges and stuff, and I have a lot of woo-woo, but I'm not the most woo-woo. I'm kind of like I'm a pretty grounded woo-woo. Like I'm a hippie with a job. I like myself. I think I'm really cool. I mean, that's what I'm really starting to come to, and that's what YouTube. I mean, YouTube has been, obviously, if you're on YouTube every day for 10 years, I mean, it's going to have an effect on your life. And in some ways, I'm addicted to it, and in other ways, it's everything. It was, and it's becoming less and less, and yet more and more, because more and more I want to show up here, and more I want to be courageous and brave. Believe it or not, like everyone's different, but me, I've been sensitive. I've had a lot of pain. I've had a lot of buried unconscious self-value, but I still was like, but the one thing that you know this, everyone knows this about me. You love me or hate me, Dan McDonald's a courageous man, who keeps showing up. It ain't easy. Content consumers and commenters, or even what is commonly called haters, but they're actually awesome too. They're haters have been my greatest opportunity. Come on, let's face it. To learn to truly love, to truly understand, because for me, what happened to me a little while ago was I really was like, I'm glad I'm not them. Because go find a comment from Dan McDonald putting someone down on the internet in the last 10 years. You might find one or two somewhere when I was having a bad day, but my rule has been, man, you don't get up here and spread no negativity, because that's just not what you do. That's not how you roll. That's never how I've been, even in my worst days. So, and even if I have like a negative emotions and stuff, and I'm like, I want to tell someone where to go, I might even write the whole thing out and spend 20 minutes writing a comment, but then I won't post it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something about posting it. And a lot of people have posted negativity, and I'll be like, bro, that's lame, dude. And then they'll come back like the next day or 6 months later or 5 years later and say, I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't really realize I was in a bad mood. You said some stuff or whatever, I wasn't ready. And so I've seen that time and time and time again. I've also seen haters become my biggest fans. So you never know. That's why it's important for me to stay in the light, the lightless light, the light that goes beyond the light and the dark, but the non-dual presence of all that is. And so it makes communication impossible, because words do not work in that dimension. That's why I love silence and quiet. And that's one of those struggles I've had, is like, there's just no way to express this in words. But here I am, yakety, 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 yakety. But then I realized that so many people, they are getting the essence of this. So just get the essence of it. It's not like I have all the details, and my understanding of diet and nutrition has changed. Not really so much as to how I approach it, but not everyone can handle the power of raw food, live food. Not everyone wants to fully awaken and become resensitized and totally and completely regenerate their brain, their nerves, their heart, and all their glands and their colon to operate and function in a way that is capable of even managing the power and the light that's in the living foods that's freshly picked. And then to illuminate the heart, to allow love to continue to blossom in your heart. It's not an easy process, because you got to look at yourself as you're becoming resensitized, because raw is the law of life. All life on this planet since the beginning was alive, living, raw, fresh, in the moment food. And then the humans, only in the last short amount of time, have begun to process, cook. Yes, cooked food is a ways back, and in some way it may have worked as a survival technique. Obviously it did, fire and things like that. So there is surviving, and then there's absolutely thriving, and that looks different to everyone. That's why I'm laying off everyone. I'm not going to talk too much about, I'm just not going to get negative on anyone, because I have friends in every genre. I have friends that are soy boy vegans. I have friends that are like almost vegan, but like once a month they'll eat a piece of fish. I have friends that are like straight up carnivore, just nothing but muscle, man. And I love them all, but they also reflect back to me too. Like, I have this silent little computer data analyzer researcher brain, which isn't the best at memorizing facts and figures, which, I track back to like aluminum in childhood. But, so in other words, I have one of those minds that absorbs quickly, but doesn't remember every single word and every single fact. It's all in there for sure. I need one of them limitless pills, you know what I'm saying? But actually, kind of that's what fasting is in a certain way. But the essence of it is all this data I'm looking at. Okay, carnivore, okay, mostly vegan, processed, like plant-based, total live food, and I'm just looking at it all, and it's like, I find that live food works for me because I am a yogi gangster for Christ. Can you dig it? Some people can't, and that's cool, and they want to tell me how to think, but no one can tell me how to think, because I think for myself. The teachers tried to get me how to think. The preachers tried to get me how to think. My parents tried to get me how to think. Thousands and hundreds of thousands of comments have tried to get me how to think, and I just think for myself, I can't help it. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm going to see what I see, because what I see is awesome, and I'm not even able to really be that. So my own consciousness and awareness of what I believe to be true is only able to be embraced and not always embodied, So maybe if I live right in this lifetime, I'll be reborn into better conditions that will be more favorable for me to have a better brain, better conditions, and more like I'll be born into a family of master yogis, and I'll just start off from the beginning, as a celibate monk with meditation from, day one, and the right energetics, all that or whatever. But take that into your being. For all the mothers and fathers, like, get yourself dialed in before you procreate so we can regenerate humanity. And I know that that's coming too, because I have some great videos. I'd love to see the mothers and the fathers of the land understand the organic biochemistry of the creation of superhuman babies. And you rarely ever see anyone even being conscious about childbirthing. Some people are a little bit conscious, but to get super conscious about the details. Now, obviously, you can't control everything, but you can control a lot, and we can control a lot of the environment and conditions when it comes to our lives personally, diet, the place where we choose to live, how we choose to live, who we choose to hang around, what we choose to read, what we choose to breathe, what we choose to drink. And especially when it comes to childbirth, it'd be really cool to see some mothers and fathers getting really dialed in on preparing themselves physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially. You can't be prepared for everything, but man, you can really get your body in a better state, because each preceding generation is getting worse and worse because we're letting the chemical manufacturers and the corporations influence us. And I'm the guy who's like, now Google is totally bought out, YouTube's bought out, Facebook's bought out, everything's bought out. There's a few little nooks and crannies of truth, but I can slip below the radar by just coming up here every day and then throwing little nuggets. I can't make videos like, this is exactly what they're trying to do to kill you, because then Google says demonetized. And by the way, something I'm very stoked about, and I am going to do my very best to start showing up here more consistently. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I'm just totally getting caught up on everything I've been thinking. So I look forward to showing up here more. And one of the reasons is because this morning I woke up, I got my Google AdSense check this morning from Google, and it's like twice as much as it's been. And the reason that is because the last month when we had the sale and I was doing the marathon, which I know you love, it's a little bit too much, but I could probably go back to, we'll see. I don't want to make any promises, but I'm going to do my best to show up here and get a consistency going. I've got a whole other life that's really, really awesome. Like just the last 2 days, we just did nothing but make food and feed everyone, And so there was no videos being made, even though I really wanted to make some videos and catch up and everything. But the Google AdSense, it was like, whoa, if I actually really focused on this and was more consistent and maybe even made some shorter videos and different stuff out in nature, just spent more time on my YouTube, And for the main reason to just keep sending out positive energy. That's the main thing I want to do, is just keep sending out positive energy, tell stories, educate, because I got a lot of really good knowledge and experience when it comes to health and what you can do to regenerate yourself. So I want to keep doing that and to regenerate humanity. I see the hoo-ha, the hogwash, and I'm just not going for it. I just don't. I'm not falling for it. It's all hype, it's all propaganda, and I'm just going for I'm going for nature, I'm going for simplicity. I'm going for less is more. Can you dig it? And we'll get into all this stuff, but I'm going to do my best to show up, because I was like, wow, if I blasted that just for 1 month and it literally doubled my Google AdSense, I'm like, if you were more consistent, Dan, you could literally make a living off of YouTube, because I've never really been able to do that. The Paradigm has been a blessing. RegenerateYourLife.org with Ricky Breslin has been a blessing. And then this was the hub of that to drive traffic to those things, because the YouTube was like, okay, yeah, I might pay my child support with the YouTube money, but then now what? I got to have a roof over my head, and I got to eat, and I have a truck payment, blah, blah, blah. So I got to find other ways. But I have simplified my life substantially, and I saw the potential if I really, became a YouTuber, which I never considered myself, and not a very good one anyways. I consider myself a very good person. I consider myself a very positive influence, and that's just mostly from my community, just the way they make me feel. They really appreciate me. And also I know, but you guys are just quiet. The real people hardly ever say anything. You're out there. I bet you there's people that have never said one thing ever, and who they're like, their whole life is totally different. And that's the theme that keeps coming up through all these more real posts on Instagram, more real videos on YouTube, which on the YouTube I haven't really been able to be vulnerable that much, just because if you were a YouTuber and you were sensitive and you loved your life and you loved your spiritual journey and you loved your diet and you loved yourself, and then you get on YouTube and it's like there's a world full of like Cracker Barrel, Golden Corral, Jack in the Box, keto at Taco Bell kind of like consciousness, and you're like, well, most of my food comes right off the trees that day. You're in a different dimension, and your whole life is about, really, there's no way to express this, but there is a awesomeness, and I have always called that God. For lack of a better word, I have a million words that I like to use to describe it in different situations. If I'm talking to a Jehovah's Witness, I use the word Jehovah. I ain't tripping. If I'm talking to someone from Islam, I'll use Allah. And that'll make some people mad, but that means you don't quite got it yet. But you will. Don't get lost in the words ever in this life. Never get lost in the words. It's just, it's so far beyond words. And yet that is what life is doing through you. So once we get smart, it's like, okay, made $1 million on the internet, had hella women, even got a little bit famous for a while there, won a lot of awards. And then it's like, okay, but what really going to fill your cup? And when you get wise and you get the downloads from the spiritual masters, because you got lucky to kind of get nudged in that direction, you start contemplating and using your mind, your higher mind, and you're like, wow, so these things, they just come and go, but what's really going to fill your cup? And we definitely want to get our physical health to the best of our ability, and really what that is just, it's not about really what you do all the time, but more about what you avoid. And that's what I'm trying to get people to see, and avoid it from birth, because these fools are trying to come on you from birth until death. They want you from a customer from day one all the way to the end, and you got to just grab your baby and get gone, or stay at home and have the baby. And people are like, oh my God, the baby's going to die, Dan. This is the worst advice you've ever had. No, man, we have enough knowledge now to prepare the vessel, to have excellent, experience through the whole process of the time that the child is growing in utero, and just to have, a really healthy diet and a healthy consciousness, that you prepared yourself so that you can have vaginal birth, and you don't let these fools just cut you and have a C-section, because then the child misses that microbial influence vaginally, and the microbes are everywhere from the woman's vagina, and then they wipe all that off, and it's like, don't wipe that stuff off, let it soak in, man. It's like they just do everything against nature. And nature was right all along. And when you wake up to it, because the live foods will wake you back up to the law, the laws of life. Follow the laws of life, nature, natural, like up and down, seed, sprout, grow, more seeds, blossom into the soil, back up again, on and on. Are you in that flow? Are you in that divine flow of nature's laws? And humanity's so far gone because the food's so processed. I'm telling you, the processed food makes the processed thoughts, and then you got all these health advocates that are like, I eat GMOs, organic's not any better, you have to get vaccinated, there's no such thing as chemtrails, fluoridation's good for your teeth, yada yada yada. And then they're like, and I got a new prescription from my doctor today, and this one there's only been 14 school shootings from kids on this drug, and psychotic, it's like people literally follow people's dietary advice, and they're on like pharmaceutical drugs. It's like, if you're on drugs, your diet needs a tune-up. If your stomach isn't producing the serotonin and the dopamine, yeah, it's like it's right there, and you can actually access it in any moment. That's not even fake. I've totally felt it. The whole, yes, I'm so grateful that my gut is producing dopamine, serotonin, all the neurotransmitters, testosterone, it's all there, and then it seeps into the bloodstream, and if the gut lining is healthy, then the microorganisms know what to let through and what not to let through. That's why oral ingestion, it's like, oral ingestion, maybe 1% or 3% of the mercury is into the bloodstream, and then the kidneys get rid of most of it. But then there's direct exposure through the muscle. That's 100% absorption. You know what I'm saying? So the gut, oral ingestion, and immunity in that sense is a whole different situation, man. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy what's going on out there. And nature is the way. She is the one that can give you power, health, life. And that's just nature's laws. And then when you have nature's laws, then you get the one holy law. And then it doesn't matter if you call this religion this or this religion that, or my religion's right and your religion's wrong. It's not even close. You're not even close if you're thinking that way. There's only one. Serve them all. Love them all. Give everything you've got. Be the light. You know when someone's dialed in and when they're not. And when they're not, you just smile sweetly. Serve them to the best of what they can receive. You don't try to fix them, change them, argue with them. Don't waste 1 second in heated debates. Just be the light, see where they are, go to that place, serve them with humility, hold space. Obviously, if people suck, you just go away from them or whatever. You don't. But you run into people that are on a different frequency than you all the time. You don't try to fix them, change them, tell them they're stupid, condemn them to hell because they have a different mathematical formula to getting into heaven. Heaven is now. Peace and ease are now. They're already within us. They're qualities within us because the lightless light is in us. And all the divine qualities are already in us. We've been inundated with fallacious, with non-truth, unreliable data that's not true, that we have invested ourselves in emotionally due to investment of money, time, whatever, in these thoughts. And then there's the propaganda, the bumper sticker slogans, repeated enough, become truth to people, but upon further examination, you're just like, actually the emperor doesn't have any clothes on. You know what I mean? Even though the slogan has been said, the emperor has clothes on, the emperor has clothes on, the emperor has clothes on, the emperor has clothes on. You see the emperor, you see his nipples and his penis, you're like, the emperor ain't got no clothes. And you're like a child. The child sees. The adult has thick Coke bottle glasses of perception. So we're clearing that away. And we're praying for clarity. Show me the way, oh lightless light. Because this brain has been, you become aware of your own limitations as a human being, and you pray to have them lifted off of you so you can see clearly. And that's what this is about for me. So that's, of course, what I'm going to share with you. So I'm cool with it, man. I'm cool. I'm just here to be the light myself. And that's all I recommend to everyone, because no matter how dark the world gets, even if 100% of the rest of the people were worshiping Satan I would do my absolute very best to be the one black sheep who still believed in the light, the lightless light of purity, goodness, love. Those are even divine qualities, which then again do have properties in duality. But just that lightless light, which is almost like it's just peace that passes understanding, stillness, to where even, you know, the most violent death is not able to upset that stillness. And it's just the evolution of consciousness, and we're all at different levels. And I think that the only thing I can say or would say is that let's just keep evolving in humility, in surrender, in courage, in faith, in love, and keep working towards understanding unity consciousness and being more kind and more understanding until our eyes see that, you know, the other is ourself, and the way that we treat them is the way we are actually treating ourselves. We're just not aware of it. We treat everything the way we treat ourselves, and we treat ourselves the way we treat everything. So what kind of, you know, what kind of position is being held? How are you approaching everything? One person cleans the toilet with love, and one person cleans the toilet with disdain, just to get a paycheck, you know? And you can hold any position. You can approach it however you want. You know, you can change. You can go from actually hating your job and the same job with the same people doing the same thing. You can change yourself, and you can change the way you look at that job. And then you can use that job to springboard yourself to something better. But until then, you kind of stay stuck until you change your frequency by saying, you know, this is actually not that bad of a job. It's a decent paycheck. I have a roof over my head. I have an awesome car. You know, I get to afford really good food. You know, so, and then you start to change your frequency. And then the people around you that you thought, oh, these people, they don't even like me, I don't get along with them. Then they start to think, wow, you know, you change your frequency. And then they're like, wow, the boss comes and says, you're doing, I've really noticed that the quality of your work has improved. So I want to thank you for that. And then you get lifted that way. And uplifting yourself really creates an opportunity for those around you and the universe itself to lift you up. As you keep going towards love and service, and that's your thing, and you just do that, and you do it without expectation, and you approach the way you're framing everything. So the conditions don't even change, but you change the framing, you change the way you approach it, and then the conditions around you. You change the whole universe by the way you approach things and frame things, and the space that you hold, the way that you approach, you know, everything that you do. And that's up to you. And that's what I'd like to share. So that's pretty good for now. We're about to make some more videos, Natea and I. I wanted to make this one just to catch up, touch base, and get the ball rolling again. This is what I call an icebreaker. I haven't been gone that long. I've made a ton of videos and haven't posted any of them. It just the truth is that sometimes I'm challenged by this, but I know it sounds weird, but to see it's interesting actually, because I'm not that motivated by money, but I am motivated by the practicalities of life. It's like this YouTube thing, as challenging as it is, it's a really good thing. It's a blessing financially for sure. It's a blessing to be a blessing. It's a blessing to do something that I love, because I really enjoyed the last 35 minutes of my time just talking about nothing or something, but it might mean something to you. And I think that it is, because I know the essence with which I'm coming from and approaching this is I want everyone to be uplifted, because I want myself to be uplifted. I want to change. I want to transform. I need more of the goodness, purity, clarity, energy. It's, you know, humility. and courage and faith, and I need those qualities. So, and what I've learned is that as you cultivate those qualities and you share those with others, you develop them more within yourself. So focus on the positive, if you will. I know the duality thing is out there, but you can see the positive within the negative. You know, you can take the worst things that happen in this life and you can make them into something good. Growth, evolution, and if your goal is evolution of consciousness, then every single thing that happens every single day, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, is an opportunity to continue to evolve and grow in every level and expand into more truth. And that's just the best way that I can say it in words at this time. But I am grateful for you, for this channel, for my life, myself, my daughters, my family, my country, this world, this universe, all the avatars from all the religions, all the spiritual teachers, and anyone anywhere who's doing their best to do what is in their heart right, whether it's vegans saving animals or people feeding hungry African children or YouTubers trying their best just to take what they've learned in life and to do something good. And that's all this is. So I'm going to do the recipes and I'm going to sit and make videos like this, and I'll go out into nature and I'll just, to me, it's like I never really say anything, but that's my own kind of judgment. You know, I'm always trying to, I always want it to be clearer and, you know, more, just more simple to understand and more well spoken, but it's some, you know, it doesn't always work out like that. So it's just like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to post the videos. If I don't look good or feel good or I'm a little grumpy or I say a swear word, which I'm really trying to work on. But like I said, I'm an old gangsta. And I've noticed, like, I'm eccentric, but I'm cool though. You know, I like myself. And it's really about coming into your own skin and accepting yourself. Like, I did this and these are parts of my characters, and there's other people that I respect that don't even have any of these characteristics, but I have them. And it's like, you know, so accepting yourself is really the coolest thing you can do. The pros and the cons of your personality, but utilize what you do have and make it work for you, you know? Do the best you can with what you've got. And that's what I'm going to do, because I've been given this thing, this YouTube thing. And although I don't do the editing, I don't have the marketing, I don't say what everyone wants to hear. I can't, you know, and there's awesome YouTubers and internet marketers that are just like, here's my niche market. Don't go outside the parameters because you don't want to offend anyone. Just kind of say what everyone wants to hear. Go mainstream. That's my business model. I never really had a business model except to just, I guess, to just be myself, say what's on my mind. I'm like a rapper. It's like I don't have to edit any of this out because it's real. I'm a real person, you know? I really believe in this. All the things I teach about health, I live it every day. I breathe the fresh air. I bathe in the rivers. I pray. I meditate. I eat the living foods. I go and I do yoga and I rebound and I go to the gym and lift weights just to keep my bones strong, just to keep my ligaments strong and stuff. I'm not trying to get jacked up. If I get too big, I start losing efficiency in meditation. In fact, I was at yoga this morning. I was like looking at the other guys and I was like, wow, these guys that are bigger, they're beautiful, you know? And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like if I was a woman, I'd think that that was awesome. A lot of women think I'm awesome. But I was like, dude, you are streamlined. You know, you're efficient. Like you're just like I got really good strength in yoga. And I love yoga. And I just do like a little bit of weightlifting and a little bit of cycling and a little bit of hiking and just real moderate. You know what I'm saying? Just like, it's like Tai Chi is life. Just a little bit, but not like grinding it at the gym like I used to, and then 3 days or 4 days for my glutes to recover, you know? It's more like, okay, maybe 1 day of glute recovery after like a sculpt class, you know, with Chelsea, who's got the bands, and you're like this guy, and you're like, all the girls are like doing it, and you're like, why am I crying over here? I'm a dude, and I'm like doing these bands, and I'm like, this really hurts, and my butt's burning, and I'm like, and the girls make it look like, and I'm like, maybe they have special hips or something to where their butt doesn't burn when they do those band exercises. But stretching ourselves, pushing ourselves, staying flexible in body, mind, staying hydrated, getting to sleep on time, all the same stuff. And you know what? I'm just going to keep going over the same stuff over and over again. You want to know why? Because that's what I need too. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, man. Arnold Ehret's books, over and over and over and over and over again, man. The microbiology, just over and over and over again, studying it. Hilton Otima's works, love it. Sivananda's books, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Repetition till it's just so much a part of me that one day I notice that it's an automatic response. We're training for the Olympics. We got one short life to live, and we want to make every second count, baby. And I mean that. So don't let the small stuff get you down, and keep pressing ahead. This is your boy DTM here. I consider myself your servant. I consider myself your friend. I'd like to be a mentor to you, for you younger gentlemen. I mean, just to live right, take the high road when it comes to the ladies. Get sober. Pharmaceutical drugs, recreational drugs, it's cool, like I dig it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you can get clear, you can find a way to eat simple, plain, nourishing foods and get to bed on time and take a fast every once in a while, just to kind of let all the physical, emotional, mental obstructions pass away. Sometimes 1 day is enough, sometimes 3 days, sometimes it takes 7 days. For some of y'all, if you really got to dig deep and to break free from some of these challenges, some 21-day water fast and things like that, I mean, it's all there. DTM is going to keep on plugging it in. I have great plans for my life. So here's one last thing I want you to remember. I'm trying to catch up with everything I've thought of so we can be right on a level playing field. So when I go up here and sell some more stuff or whatever I got to do, you're like, you got it. I know where DTM's coming from. He's doing his thing. It's just his job. He's doing marketing and all this stuff. Because I'm all about you, and I'm all about me, and I'm all about the truth. And then I had a whole nother point. And it was this, because this is really important. Like, if I ever drop off, it's because I'm doing the work, and like sometimes I'll be taking the tonics and it's getting better. I've made so much progress with this, with the aluminum and fluoride poisoning, just all the way from day one, and then in elementary school we're like drinking fluoride. It's like, that's what we did in my generation. I mean, it's like, really? And people are like, no, it's good for your teeth. It's like, yeah, if you're in a Nazi concentration camp and you want to be dumber than a pile of rocks and you want to have no cognition in your brain, you don't want your pineal gland to work. I mean, I'm trying to wake up. This is 20 years later on live foods, and I'm still working on awakening, illumination, Now you know my life's goal, illumination. And it's just because I want to feel the presence of the lightless light forevermore, all through eternity, and live in peace for all eternity as a soul. And I want to be a bright candle, a big, giant candle with a huge wick that can just go around and light other candles, And we can keep the light alive. We won't. No, these guys with all their stuff, they can be living in the back of the reptilian brain and be a bunch of psychopaths. But we are here to live and to love and to appreciate the trees and the birds and the bees and the rivers and the rain and the sun and the rainbows and each other before it's gone. And the giraffes and the lions and everything that's dying on this planet. Somehow we got to live as an individual. You are the savior for mankind. When you save yourself, you save the whole world. That's the only way that each individual takes responsibility for this process of renewal, reintegration, regeneration, life enhancement, enhancement of the cognitions, enhancement of the energy of the heart, enhancement of the health of the gut so the brain works better, so that you can actually get all this life-giving information, absorb it, and put it into practice daily and day in and day out. I really enjoyed this video. I have realized recently I'm always on a path of growth. I've realized how important this is, how important you are to me. It's, and it's all important. It's important that I share love. It's important that I do what's fun. It's important that I make videos and educate, because I love being a teacher of raw foods. It's important that I make money so I can keep having a roof over my head, so I can afford the Wi-Fi and get a new phone with the better camera, so I can keep growing and just doing this, it's so I can just keep doing this. And it's all just as important as all the rest of it. It's like my heart is in a miracle zone right now. And I am so grateful for you, and I am so grateful that I am me, and I am just stoked, so I'm going to do some shorter videos. I'm going to try to push myself out of my comfort zone and talk about what I really want to talk about. And I have been thinking about starting an elite video club, maybe I don't know, I don't want to say how much, but an affordable price, but to where it's worth it. Because if I start an elite video club, then I can actually say what I really think people need to hear, so they can. But you can't do that. Google, Facebook, Instagram, they will knock you out of the algorithms. They will take you off of YouTube. And then I would lose my little thing. And I'm not afraid. I'm just trying to be wise, because it's all censorship. And you can't tell too much truth, but you can make videos like this, and then, they can't check every word. It's just they just the titles get the most, natural cancer cures. Dan McDonald, email. You go against our pharmaceutical sponsors, so you do not get to monetize this video. Okay, so the pharmaceutical companies, the $1 trillion, medical and pill and surgery and radiation, chemotherapy and vaccine conglomerate, death machine, owns everything. They own the media. They have for a long time. They own the hospitals. They own the Google and Facebook and Twitter and Reddit and Wikipedia. And, so if you don't go along with the pharmaceutical, way of thinking, then you're a quack. The quack is keyword for truth teller. So be aware of that for those of you who have any kind of cognitions left after the whole dumbing down of the whole world. After the, keeping up with the Kardashians, it's who really gives a flip? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They're 3 out of 10 on the level of intelligence. No offense. They look pretty with all their makeup on, but if you take all that makeup off, you've got less than average here, folks, and we're all following that, and we really need to step up our game. Can you dig it? We want some deep, real truth that's going to free us and make us happy in our day-to-day life instead of distract us, so we can be full and we can be filled and we can be the cup overflowing with the living water of living life. And that's why I recommend raw foods and everything else I recommend. Total awakening on every level. Can you dig it, baby? I know you can. Dan the man with the master plan. Y'all have molded me, that's for sure. I hope I've had the good parts of me have had a good effect on your life. I'm going to continue to press ahead with that intention in mind, to bring goodness, to help you, to uplift, just via the videos. Can't keep up with all the emails and stuff like that. Just can't even. I go crazy. But this I can do, Aloha.